What's up, y'all? Today we're going over something a little bit different. I decided to do some personal work, a 10K school record graphic for my cousin. As you can see in the graphic, her last name is Sustar. Even though I usually work with male athletes in my graphics, putting this one together was really cool and unique because the editing is a little different, and I decided to go all out since I had been trying to make something for her for a long time. So without further ado, let's go. So she goes to school at Palm Beach Atlantic. I started by Googling photos from around the school area and came up with this one and a few others, but this is the one that I stuck with. I removed these streaks right there because that's where one of her cutouts was going to be, and just, it doesn't look great, but I just kind of used a correction tool to fix that. I removed the light poles and stuff up there because that was going to be in the way. So this is the original photo, but I stretched it to make the underlying photo, and all I did was mask the top and bottom of this one out to blend in to the layer underneath. So the only thing left to remove is this, but we didn't even need to do that because her photo was going to cover that. So this is a logo of theirs that I found online, and I decided to just put it to overlay, and I decided to remove the part that was in the water and keep the part on top, and then I add some back to the water later. So I actually added these in pretty late, but these palm trees were originally straight and had no lighting. So I used inner shadows to light them and then curve them, which they'll look better when they're behind her cutout. But I decided, you know, it's in Florida near the beach, so gotta have some palm trees. Then I added in her cutouts, and I think I just had a drop shadow on that, but I also added a lot to her cutouts. So first of all, I edited them in Camera Raw to make them fairly soft because, in my opinion, especially for female athletes, you don't want to boost the clarity and texture because most female athletes are not going to like that look. So then I used a curves layer and just lit her face up a little bit because you want to draw attention to that area, obviously. There's a few layers in here, I'm not sure exactly what I was doing, but I was probably changing the color of her jersey a little bit and use a selective color to kind of correct the color of the cutout to where I wanted it. And these two layers are actually inner glow / inner shadow layers that I just right clicked and then did create layers, and so they pop up, you know, above it, and they're set to linear dodge add, both linear dodge add at 80%. So I used kind of a pink and a yellow to go from like the clouds up here reflecting on her hair to like the sun down here reflecting on like her arms and whatnot. Then I added a curves layer and way overdid her eyes, but we'll fix that later. And then I probably tweaked the color of her eyes, which I could never actually figure out the color of her eyes, so I had a lot of struggle with that, but we fixed it in the end. And then I just took this layer from down here and basically used it as like a solid color, and then moved it over and painted in on her cheekbone going down to her chin, and then right on her nose right there where this light would come up and hit the right side of her face, or I guess if you're looking at her, the left side of her face. And that's set to screen. So then I added in the ripples for where her second cutout was going to be on her right there. I think I just have a little bit of the inner glow and inner shadow. Basically the same thing we do with the other cutout. Brighten up the face, change the color of the jersey a little bit, change the overall color of the cutout, then added the inner yellow glow, which will be lower, because see, the lower portion of the graphic is like a yellow coming from this area, and the upper right here is more like pink and blue. So for the upside, it was kind of like a mixture of yellow and pink and just kind of faded those together. I used a gradient mask on both of those. So then I way over boosted the eyes again, tried to fix the color, and this is basically a solid color that I painted in just on her arm right here, because the inner shadow only affects, you know, the outside of the cutout, so it doesn't do the arm or like other edges that are like inside of the cutout, if that makes sense. But the sunlight would still be hitting that, so I added it right there, and then I added it also on her cheekbone. I think that was maybe it for there, and I'm not even sure if that would be hitting right there, but I just thought it kind of made it stand out a little more. And both of those are set to screen. So I added in a reflection of her, basically just copied her body transformed it, flipped it over, and then put a motion blur on it side to side, which I feel like looks decently accurate, but you know, it's not perfect. And I found this splash thing, which is also not perfect, but I just put it in there, set it to lighter color, and kind of tweaked some of the settings down here. So here's where I painted in the white for the logo that's in the bottom. So basically there was no white, so I just painted it in where the logo has white, added the logo, then I did a gradient mask on the logo and put another one on top of that, set a linear dodge add, put a gradient mask on top of that, and then did a curves layer and boosted the highlights way up and did another gradient mask. So basically it kind of looks more 3D, because if I didn't do any of those gradients, it just looked kind of 2D and weird, whereas here it kind of looks like it's like fading in from the background to the foreground. So then here I just had a picture of a track, but I edited it a lot to make it look like just the lines from the track, and it's a small detail, but kind of another thing I wanted to do to make this look like something she could be standing on. And it kind of, she was running it on a track, which she's more so a cross-country runner, but decided to put the lines in there just to make it more fitting for the event. So then here I have the birds added in. So I think it was just like one photo of like 5 birds or something, but then I cut different ones out and put them in different places and made them bigger over here and smaller over here, and then put them behind her cutout a little bit to kind of make it look like they're all flying up through the graphic, which I thought was really cool. And then these are layers, I think, that are just lighting layers to go over top of them with inner shadows, which is like a gold light, I'm pretty sure. So here we have the sailfish, pretty cool picture of a sailfish that I found, and then I had to fix the color, and then obviously this like fishing line and hook that's in his mouth. So basically what I did was use the same picture, just kept dragging it around and painting it on top of the old picture, on top of the fishing line so you couldn't see it anymore. Then added in the splash that was from that photo, but I set that to luminosity, whereas the picture of the fish is just normal. So then I adjusted the lighting, adjusted the color. I made the blue kind of fit, you know, her jersey color, and then I put some lighting on top. This is her other cutout with the shadow under the foot, just a black brush set to 38%. A shadow, which is not accurate, but kind of just like, you know, the sun's over here, so the shadow would be over here. It's not perfect, but whatever. Just basically a copy of her body with a black color overlay and then a Gaussian blur on it. That's how I did that. Then we have the inner light on her, kind of like we did over here, but she's only on the bottom part of the picture, so it's mainly just the yellow hitting her. Then I brightened her up and adjusted the color, because basically she was a little too, that was the only photo that wasn't a photo shoot photo, so I had to find that one, and it was very harsh lighting, so I kind of had to tweak the lighting and make it look a little more bland, if that makes sense, which, like, you know, fits in with these better. And the lighting that's on her from that photo doesn't really make sense with what we're doing, but I think it still turned out all right. So then this layer, I think, was just a camera raw filter layer that I made of the whole thing. I did a apply image effect, painted in like a darker area from where like the shade of the sailfish would be. Again, not super accurate, but just a little thing. And then here I did apply image, set it to screen, and then put a Gaussian blur on it and painted in, you know, where the main light sources were and where it would be hitting to kind of give it a glow effect, which I love. Set that to 75%. Then I recolored the whole thing one more time and put 2 color lookups over it to give it like the final color, or just about the final color. And then I added in these clouds as one last, you know, environmental effect. I had to tweak the color of those to match the ones in the background. Again, they don't look super realistic. I think they turned out all right. This one's got some inner shadows and inner glows, which are just, you know, an orange lighting from like this area hitting the bottom of it. So I tweaked those to match the background clouds, as you can see. Then we have her name, and the font just fit like perfectly into this curve of the fish, so that was cool. Then we got the 10K school record, which is just basic text, and the logo. Put a stroke on it to make it stand out more. Compressed layer of the whole thing with a blur so that the outer edges were kind of blurry, and it kind of draws your attention to like just the main focus of the photo. And then I added in these little like rainbow overlay things, which just give it like an extra pop. I love little things like that. As you can see right here, down here where the fish is a little bit, just some little extra things. And then I think I just blurred this water right here because it was a little bit too crisp. It like didn't fit in with the other water over there, and like this water next to the fish. So when I put that blur on it, it just made it look a little more realistic. I'll put the PSD below. You can kind of see what I did, and let me know what you think or if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.